in his lifetime, and they were worried what's going to happen after you go. How is this going to go on? And Frank Duff's reassurance and his words were always, this isn't my Legion of Mary, this is Mary's. This is the Legion of Mary. So we have to trust that this way of living your life, this way of dependence on Mary and being her hands and feet in the world to practically go out to extend the reach of the church, this is his legacy.
If you want to describe his legacy, it would be the mobilization of the laity. Back in 1921, 100 years ago, who were the laity? I mean, in the 19th century, Bishop Olathorn asked Newman, the Bishop of Birmingham, when Newman was writing about the laity, he said to Newman, who are the laity? And Newman said, well, the church would look funny without them. But the old thing was to pray and to pay. They weren't to engage in the apostolate. Whereas Frank Duff mobilized the ordinary people.
Is Frank Duff a saint? I would change the question. Would Frank Duff want to be a saint? He wouldn't. I believe he would want to be an influence on all of us, to get closer to the Lord. He wouldn't be interested in sainthood for the sake of people saying, because sometimes when somebody is made a saint, we forget about them. We no longer intercede to them because it's far better that they're on the road, they're venerable, they're remembered, we're interceding for them, we're processing with them, we're pilgriming with them. Would Frank Duff want to be saint? I don't know. Is he a saint? He certainly is, because of his wonderful example. Would he want it? I'm not sure. It's interesting. When he made First Communion, the priest said, what do you want to do when you grow up? We were all asked those questions. What did Frank Duff answer? I want to be a priest. In my opinion, it would be a huge mistake for Frank Duff to become a priest. He was a much more effective layman, civil servant, author, reflective thinker, reaching out to the margins, to the broken, to the wounded. Frank Duff did things he could never do as a priest. Frank Duff achieved things he could never achieve as a priest. So you ask about, and we wonder, would he be a saint? I would repeat the question. Of course I think he's a saint, but I'm not certain he would want to be a saint. He would want to be an example to all of us, to get closer to Christ.
Why do I believe he's a saint? First of all, his love of the poor, the dignity of people. Every human person he saw Christ. Long before Mother Teresa of Calcutta and all these great saints, modern times, Frank Duff, as a member of the Vincent de Paul, basic principle of his life as regards human beings like you and me, is that he sees Christ in them. Whatever you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do to me. One of the men I interviewed in the course of the process for his beatification was a man from the Morning Star Hostel for down and out people who couldn't cope with life. He'd been an alcoholic and recovered and was happily married. Frank Duff was the best man at his wedding. And I interviewed him and I said to him, what was the thing that most impressed you about Frank Duff? And he said to me, Father, when I was an alcoholic and down and out on the streets, and I met Mr. Duff, I discovered that he was the only man that ever looked up to me. His reverence for me was extraordinary.
And this homeless man said, you know, Frank Duff, the only man who ever looked up to me. So it's a nice, simple phrase, but that Frank Duff had this way of serving the poor, either poor in spirit or poor in body, looking up to them. And that's a legion, it's a Catholic thing too. It's I've come not to be served, but to serve. So it's simply filling out our Catholic faith.
And I think that's the story of his life. Do you know, he's one of these great saints like Mother Teresa, who really did believe, not as a theory, not just as an intellectual conviction, but in practice. He believed in the presence of Jesus, not only in the Eucharist, but in every human being he met.
People would write to him from all corners of the world, explaining their difficulties and looking for advice and various things. And he would spend hours every night writing back to people. And he would always remember what was going on in their lives. Even though he was dealing with people all over the world in so many different circumstances, he always remembered each person and what they were going through, what their difficulties were, and also the good things. You know, he just had a genuine interest and awareness of people and their lives.
That, for me, in a few words, is Frank Duff, a man who discovered Mary as his mother, and through her and with her came to give primacy to Jesus, to the Holy Trinity. That's his spirituality, and out of that spirituality came all the marvelous works in the apostolate.
His life is a challenge. It challenges us to live out our faith, and perhaps it sets an ideal. And I think I make the comparison between Frank Duff and St. Paul, as in we read the writings of St. Paul and he's always exhorting us, you know, encouraging us to higher things, to greater things, to more zeal in our lives. We have to see Jesus in each person that we meet. And he emphasizes that again and again.
I think he was a man deeply in love with our Blessed Mother, and a man who was totally committed to building up the good of the Church. And even throughout his life, he did heroic things. He did miraculous things. The Lord worked miracles through Frank Duff. And even the Legion itself, I think, is a testament to what a great man he was, what a great saint he was. And I'm sure that someday the Church will acknowledge him as a great saint, and certainly one of the greatest Irish saints.
I think Frank Duff is a saint partly because he lived the Legion. The mission, the vision he had for the Legion of Mary was as a group that would form Catholics to be saints. How you live continually responding to God, how you live continually loving your neighbour, like seeing Christ in everyone you meet. It was a very strong impression made on me that this was a truly holy man.
Frank Duff was a layman. Frank Duff was everyone's father, grandfather, uncle, friend.
He had that fatherly figure.
The image of Frank Duff is spectacular. And there's a particular image, which I love, of showing the fatherly figure reaching out. Does that man want to be a saint? Not at all. Does he want to change the Church? Absolutely.
Where will you spend eternity? He wanted everybody to spend eternity with God.
When I'm called before the Lord, he said, and I'm asked to give an account of myself, he said, I don't think I'll say that I said the divine office every day, or that I was at Mass every day, sometimes twice a day. But he said, I will say that I risked everything for your sake. So I think courage, if you want one word.
He was a very gentle man, very humble man, and great humanity as well as spirituality.
He saw his vocation to be a co-redeemer.
He was a man of commitment, of loyalty, of dignity and simplicity, and a man of faith.
Frank Duff was a man that lived the spirit of the gospel in many ways.
Frank Duff was an apostle.
Most extraordinary man.
His heroic faith and the genuine love he had for God and love for neighbour. I would say a saint.
He was a man of vision.
The fruits of the Legion were conversions, the validation of marriages, catechetical work, everything, work with prostitutes, with homosexuals, with all classes of society. It's tremendous, and it all started with this little man, you know, who lived most of his life in one small square mile of Dublin. And he has influenced the whole world. So it's a glorious life.
This wonderful Dublin citizen travelled back and forth indeed in his wonderful work Founding the Legion of Mary on the 7th of September in 1921, soon celebrating 100 years, and died on the 7th of November in 1980. The 1st of November, of course, which we're celebrating today, the Feast of All Saints. 6th of November, the Feast of All the Saints of Ireland. And please God, the 7th of November will become known as a celebratory day for this particular saint in waiting, our friend and dear comrade in eternal life, and did such great work for the poor here in this world, and still influencing us to this day, none other than Frank Duff.